My baby came back from my sister-in-law's house with scratches all over his face. When I asked what happened, she laughed and said, I didn't think his nails were that long. What I did next left her regretting ever watching him. I still feel sick when I think about that day. I had just walked into my sister-in-law's house, expecting to pick up my baby boy, Noah, after running some errands. He had been there for a few hours, just a simple babysitting favor. Nothing crazy. The moment I saw him, my stomach dropped. His little face was covered in scratches. Deep, red, angry lines ran down his soft cheeks. One of them was so deep near his eye that dried blood had crusted over. His nose was red and scraped, his forehead had a swollen spot, and his onesie was stretched at the collar, like someone had been yanking on it. He wasn't even crying. That was the worst part. My baby always reached for me the second he saw me. He always gave me a little gummy smile, always babbled happily. But that day? He just laid there, looking exhausted. Defeated. I scooped him up immediately, running my fingers over the scratches. What happened? My voice was sharp. Vanessa, my husband's sister, laughed. She actually had the nerve to smirk and say, I didn't think his nails were that long. For a second, I thought I misheard her. I looked back at Noah. His tiny hands were balled into fists, his little fingers curled up. His nails weren't long. I had trimmed them the night before. I turned back to her, my hands shaking. What do you mean? She shrugged like it was nothing. He kept grabbing at his face, I guess. You should probably cut his nails more often. My head started pounding. The scratches were too deep. Too deliberate. There was no way he had done this to himself. Babies scratch their faces sometimes, sure, but not like this. I scanned the room, my eyes landing on Vanessa's 3 kids. They were sprawled out on the couch, watching TV, completely uninterested in what was happening. Something wasn't right. I took a deep breath, keeping my voice calm. Did you even check on him? Vanessa sighed, rolling her eyes. He was fussy, but all babies are. Fussy. Noah was not a fussy baby. He only got fussy if he was hungry, tired, or in pain. My grip on him tightened. I looked at her again, really looked at her. She wasn't nervous. She wasn't apologetic. If anything, she seemed annoyed that I was even asking questions. Something was wrong. Really wrong. I took another step forward. Vanessa, where was he while you were watching him? She scoffed. What does it matter? He was in the playroom. I felt ice in my veins. Her playroom was a gated-off section of the house where her kids played. A separate room. You left him alone? She groaned. I didn't leave him alone. He was with the kids. Her 3 kids, all under 10. I felt like I was going to throw up. You dumped my 8-month-old baby in a room with no supervision? She rolled her eyes. Oh my God, it's not a big deal. My kids played rough when they were little too. He's fine. Noah whimpered in my arms, tucking his face into my shoulder. That's when I knew. I had left him there for hours. Alone with her kids, with no one checking in. No one making sure he was safe. No one stopping them if they got too rough. I looked at her kids again. None of them looked guilty. None of them looked sorry. I swallowed the lump in my throat and turned back to her. Did you even hold him? Vanessa scoffed. You coddle him too much. He's fine. I saw red. I turned on my heel, grabbing my diaper bag from the couch. We're leaving. Vanessa groaned. Oh, stop. You act like he was in danger. I spun around so fast she actually took a step back. If you think I'm ever letting you watch my son again, you're out of your mind. She rolled her eyes. You're so dramatic. I ignored her. I adjusted Noah on my hip and stormed out of her house. But I wasn't just going to let this go. Oh no. Vanessa was about to regret ever watching my son. The second I got home, I called my husband. I was still shaking when he picked up. I didn't even give him a chance to say hello. I need you to come home. Now. He hesitated. What happened? I sent him a picture of Noah's face. The phone went silent. Then, in a voice I barely recognized, he said, I'll be there in 10 minutes. I had never heard him sound like that before. While I waited, I started taking pictures. Every single scratch. Every bruise. The way his onesie was stretched, like someone had pulled on it. I took pictures of his wrists, noticing the faint red mark on one of them, like someone had grabbed him too hard. Then, I did something that would change everything. I called the pediatrician. I wasn't about to let this be brushed off. I wanted official documentation. The receptionist was horrified when I explained what happened. Bring him in right away. I grabbed my car keys. I didn't care that it was almost closing time. I didn't care if Vanessa thought I was overreacting. I was going to make sure there was a record of what she had done. And after that? I was going to destroy her reputation. I drove to the pediatrician's office, like a woman possessed. Noah had fallen asleep in his car seat, but every few minutes, he whimpered in his sleep. Every sound he made just made me angrier. I pulled into the parking lot and unbuckled him as gently as I could. He stirred, blinking up at me, his little face still covered in red marks. My chest tightened. When we got inside, the nurse took one look at him and immediately rushed us into a room. The doctor came in a few minutes later, her face tight. What happened? I told her everything. The scratches. The bruises. The fact that Vanessa laughed when I asked about it. The doctor's jaw clenched. You're right to be concerned. These aren't normal baby scratches. She examined Noah's face carefully, pressing gently around the deeper scratches. Some of these look like they were made by something else. Not just nails. My stomach turned. Like what? She hesitated. Possibly a toy, or another child. I felt sick. Someone had hurt my baby. The doctor continued, there's also a small bruise on his wrist. Did he get stuck somewhere? No, I said, my voice hollow. That wasn't there this morning. Her expression darkened. It looks like someone grabbed him too hard. I swallowed hard, gripping Noah's tiny hand. He just looked up at me with his big, tired eyes, completely unaware of what was happening. The doctor sighed. I'm going to document all of this. If you decide to report it, you'll have official medical records to back it up. I nodded. I already knew what I had to do. As I walked out of the office, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Cold, burning rage. Vanessa was about to learn exactly what happens when you mess with my child. When I got home, my husband was already waiting for me. The second he saw Noah's face up close, his hands clenched into fists. She let this happen? His voice was deadly quiet. She didn't just let it happen, I said, setting Noah down carefully. She laughed about it. I could see his whole body tense. My husband wasn't an angry man. He rarely ever lost his temper. But right now? He looked like he was seconds away from exploding. I'm going over there. I grabbed his arm. No. Not yet. He turned to me, his eyes dark. She hurt our son. She's not getting away with this, I said. But I want to do this the right way. He took a deep breath, running a hand down his face. What's the plan? I smirked. We're going to make sure everyone knows what she did. First, I called my mother-in-law. She picked up on the second ring. Oh, sweetheart. How's Noah? Vanessa said you got all upset over some scratches, she told you that? I interrupted, my voice cold. Well, yes. My mother-in-law sounded hesitant now. She didn't tell you the part where she left him alone for hours? Or that he has bruises? Or that she laughed when I asked what happened? Silence. Then, a shaky breath. She said you were being dramatic. I let out a bitter laugh. Check your messages. I sent her the pictures. Not even 30 seconds later, she gasped. Oh my God. I didn't say anything. I let her sit with it. Let her really see what Vanessa had done. My mother-in-law's voice was shaking. I had no idea. I swear, I thought, you told me to trust her. My voice was sharp now. You swore she was responsible. She started crying. I'm so sorry. I'll talk to her, no, I cut in. Don't cover for her. Don't downplay this. Because I swear to you, if she ever gets near my son again, I will make sure every single person in this family knows exactly what she's done. More silence. Then, a small, broken, I understand. Good. But I wasn't done. I started calling everyone. Aunts. Uncles. Cousins. Friends. Anyone who had ever let Vanessa babysit. I told them everything. I sent the pictures. I told them how she laughed when I confronted her. And as I expected, the stories started rolling in. She left my daughter alone in the backyard once, one cousin admitted. I thought it was an accident, but now, She let my son cry in his crib for an hour while she was on her phone, another said. I should have known she didn't care. It was worse than I thought. Vanessa wasn't just careless with my baby. She had always been this way. People just hadn't spoken up before. Well, now they were. And Vanessa? She was about to face consequences for the first time in her life. By the time I finished making my calls, Vanessa's perfect reputation as a great mom was destroyed. No one in the family was defending her anymore. Not after seeing Noah's face. Not after hearing how she laughed when I confronted her. And as it turned out, I wasn't the only one she had mistreated. One cousin told me Vanessa lost her temper with her toddler once and shoved him onto the couch. Another said she left their baby in a dirty diaper for hours while she gossiped with friends. She wasn't just careless. She was neglectful. And now? She had nowhere to hide. Vanessa must have realized things were turning against her because she called me. I let it go to voicemail. Then she started texting. Vanessa, WTF, did you say to everyone? My phone won't stop ringing. Vanessa, you're making this a bigger deal than it is. Vanessa, you're ruining my life over a few scratches? Vanessa, answer me. I didn't respond. Then, one final message came through. Vanessa, you think you're so smart? You'll regret this. That made me laugh. I'll regret this? Oh, Vanessa. You have no idea what's coming. First, I followed through with my report to Child Protective Services. I wasn't the only one who had concerns now. A few other family members who had let Vanessa watch their kids also reported their experiences. CPS took it seriously. Within a week, they showed up at her house for a welfare check. Vanessa had no idea who called. She was furious. Then, I hit her where it hurt the most, her business. Vanessa ran a small at-home daycare. Parents in the neighborhood trusted her. They thought she was responsible. They didn't know the truth. So I told them. I posted on local Facebook parenting groups. I posted on neighborhood forums. I shared everything. No wild accusations. Just facts. How she left my infant alone for hours. How she let her kids roughhouse with a baby. How she laughed when I confronted her. How CPS had to get involved. Word spread fast. Within days, parents pulled their kids out of her care. Her business collapsed. And when she found out who was responsible? She showed up at my door. The second I opened the door, Vanessa exploded. You ruined me, she shrieked. Her face was red, her hair was a mess. Do you have any idea what you've done? I leaned against the doorframe, crossing my arms. Yeah. I made sure no one else lets you neglect their kids. She looked like she wanted to scream. You took everything from me. I tilted my head. Funny. That's how I felt when I saw my baby's face. She opened her mouth, but I wasn't done. You're lucky I didn't go to the police, I said, my voice cold. You're lucky I didn't press charges. But trust me, Vanessa, you will never be trusted again. She stood there, breathing hard, like she wanted to fight. But she had nothing. No one in the family was backing her up. No one believed her lies. And me? I just smiled and shut the door in her face. Vanessa lost everything. Her daycare business never recovered. No one wanted to leave their kids with someone CPS had investigated. Her own friends distanced themselves. Even my mother-in-law, who had once defended her, refused to speak to her. As for my husband and me? We never let her near Noah again. And every time I see my son's happy, unmarked little face now, I know one thing for sure, Vanessa will never forget the day she laughed at my baby's pain. Because I made sure it was the day she lost everything. And I don't regret a thing.